Good morning, everybody. Happy Sunday to you. It is me again. My name is Zach. For those of you who don't know me yet, I spent the past year as the youth coordinator here at St. Paul's, and I'm going to be here again in the fall. So if you want to come hang out with me in the fall, we will be doing EYC Zoom here in at least in the early parts, and we will be back in the church together as soon as we are allowed to by the diocese. Good morning, Mom.
Hey, good morning.
How are you?
I'm great.
That's good. That is very good to hear.
Your
Um,
sermon was phenomenal.
Thank you.
Phenomenal. I loved
Thank you.
it.
Thank you.
Hey,
Thank you.
look what coffee mug I'm using this morning.
Oh, yes. Oh, I love that one. So this morning, I wanted to take it a different direction for my homily. So for those of you who didn't watch my homily, it was all about the importance of remembering what God has done in the past in order to identify the way God is moving in your life right now. And so I used this morning's gospel, and I pulled in a text from Matthew 8, where again, they were out in the boat. Good morning, Jill. It's good to see you. Where they were out in the water, and Jesus calms the storm, and he does it again in chapter 14. And I thought both of those stories went together really well in the sense that we're able to see the way the disciples are coming to know and coming to understand exactly who Christ is. And so that was the main meat of my homily. But I wanted to take this morning and talk about the fact that to say, "You of little faith, why do you doubt?" It's kind of a judgment statement. It is a little judgy, and it's something that we do hear in common everyday life, and we say to one another. Whether that be jokingly or in serious instances, we do use that remark towards our neighbors, and I don't think that's okay. I really don't. I think that I think we're just needlessly putting our neighbors down for the doubt that they're feeling, and we're invoking the words of Christ to do that, like we are holy and mighty enough to be wearing the sandals of Christ and to put ourselves in the seat of the judge. And I think that's not only bad for our own perspective on the world, but I think it's harmful to our relationship with our neighbors. I think when they're
But don't
feeling
you
doubt and we shame them for that doubt, oh, you of little faith, that doesn't allow them to cultivate more faith. That just puts them in a position of shame for the doubt that they're currently feeling.
but don't you think that statement can serve as that wake up call? Because maybe you don't like if you use your situation used this morning where when you called me and was like, "Mom, I made a mistake."
Right,
I may not have said those exact words, but it was essentially that. Like, oh,
right.
you have little faith, Zach. Like, you got to look back and remember. And that's how I take it that Jesus was saying it to them. Like, come on,
Like
guys.
why?
Have
Yeah,
I
like
let you
why are
down
you
before?
still doubting? Right, and so I absolutely agree with that. I just think that there are a million better ways to go about that, rather than just immediately going to that one liner, because Jesus doesn't do that. You know, Jesus, when he says, "If it is you, Lord," and like, then that would have been a pretty good time to drop that on him. But he encourages him to come out into the water, and let's really keep going and dive a little bit deeper into this. And so, in that sense, I don't think it should be. I just don't think it should be the first thing we go to, and I don't really think that it's a loving way to talk through our neighbors' doubts, because I think it only serves to shame them for the doubt that they are having, and I think it can be a block to a healthy conversation. It can impede them from continuing to express their doubt with you, and so we can do that, you and I, because you're my mom and we're super close, and you are the best friend that I've ever had. But if a youth were to come up to me and say, "Hey, I'm really struggling with this," and I were to look back at them and say, "Oh, you of little faith, why do you doubt?" That youth would never come back to me. They would never come back and have another conversation with me about their doubt, because I've shamed them for their current doubt. And I think
So,
in that, it doesn't leave us in a position to continue the conversation about faith.
so how would you, what's a more appropriate way to say it then?
To go ahead and be like, okay, so how did we get here? And to remind, to like, let's just skip the fact that they're expressing doubt and go right ahead onto reminding us in the ways that in which God has worked in our life to get us where we are. And so when they begin to think of that on their own, You know, when they think of, oh, like their own thought process is, oh yeah, God did do this and God did do this, rather than me telling you what God did for you. When you're able to recall for yourself,
Yeah.
not only does that like make your faith kind of your own, like you're accountable for your own faith rather than me giving you the reason to have faith. And in that, we're allowing them to practice cultivating their own faith and practice seeing where God is moving in their life,
So
rather than saying, yeah, go ahead, go ahead.
do you think that um Jesus used that line because he was frustrated with them? Because
Yeah,
he keeps telling them, like, guys, like, do you
right. And
not see what I'm doing here?
right, and even so, say it was just these two interactions. Say it was just Jesus calming the waters on the boat and then walking on the water. Hey, good morning, Dan. Um, Even then, like, is that not enough to know that this individual, the one walking on water, is the Son of God? Like, how, like, I was sitting there thinking the audacity of Peter to say, "If this is you, Lord," to the guy walking on the water. But like I knew how the rest of the story went, so I knew that that was Jesus. But when we're in our own context in our own lives, we don't entirely know the ways in which God is working in our life, and so with that, there can be immense doubt. And I think that yeah, we can be frustrated, but we shouldn't be frustrated with the faith of somebody else. I've
No,
been frustrated with Dad, but I'm not going to sit around and shame him for the faith that he's displaying, because
or
that's
lack
not going to
of.
lead him to faith, right? Because that's not going to lead him to a position of faith. It's only going to serve to move him away.
Yeah, and and again, I think that Jesus said that to them probably out of frustration
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
he has said it a gazillion times. And but I hear what you're saying, though, in terms of how we treat each other, and we throw that comment off, and don't think anything of it. And there's so many phrases in our society that are like that, that can be
Right.
that that thing that just snaps for somebody. I hate to use the word trigger, but it could be a trigger for
Right.
somebody.
Right. It can be upsetting to somebody. Intent versus impact sometimes.
Yeah.
Um,
But I mean, like, and we there are so many we don't even realize the origin of it.
mm,
I used the one rule of thumb the other day. I was in a group, having a conversation at work about sensitivity and things like that, and how we don't realize what sometimes we don't even realize what we're saying, or what where
oh,
that came from.
oh, are we losing you?
I'm here. Can you
Oh,
hear
hey,
me?
hey, yeah, yeah, now we can, yeah.
The rule of thumb. Do you know where that came from?
Mm,
Back in, I don't even know how far back, but the rule or the law was a husband couldn't beat his wife with anything larger than his thumb.
that's disgusting.
Rule of thumb. So, if you use that term rule of thumb around someone who is a victim of domestic abuse,
Right, right.
and you
You could,
don't even realize it. Like,
right,
there's so many things like that. So I say that in relation to this, that you might think what you're saying is harmless
mm,
and common. You know, using rule of thumb is incredibly common in our
right,
culture. Yet, if we're not aware of the person that we're talking with, and some of the word choices we're making can have a huge impact. So I just feel like we all need to be, in some aspects, we all need to be sensitive to it. But on the flip side, though, we gotta, like, get some thick skin sometimes.
Yeah, no, I do see what you're saying here. In one sense, we have to be able to let go of the things that others have said that hurt us, and be able to forgive our neighbors. And on the other side of that coin is we don't want to be the ones who are out in the world offending our neighbors. And so
Right.
I think when we are in both circumstances, you need humility.
Yeah.
You need humility to be able to forgive the other individual, and you need humility to be able to accept the fact that, hey, something I said was incorrect here, and I'm going to sit here and I'm going to listen to you, and I'm going to figure out how I hurt you so that I don't do it again. And there's a
Right.
real humility in that. You got to humble yourself to be able to admit when you're wrong and when you've made a mistake.
But there's a trust factor there because the
Hmm.
person who's been offended has to be able to trust the individual that they're communicating with who have just said that thing that triggered them to say,
Right.
you know, I'm not too I'm not too fond of blonde jokes, you know, and you know, someone might just be like, oh yeah, blonde jokes, they're funny. Even though I'm not as blonde as I used to be, I and I don't color my hair, for those of you watching. It's natural. But I don't like blonde jokes
Right.
where most of society thinks they're really funny.
Yeah.
Not quite so. But
Right.
you know, if someone tells me a blonde joke and I don't laugh, I'm like, why do you think I'm not laughing?
Mm.
Think
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. No, I think you're absolutely right. And with that,
But I move on.
yeah, it
If someone
comes down
tells me a
again.
blonde joke and I say, not funny, I'm not like, oh my gosh, that person's horrible and I can't believe they just told me a blonde joke and, you know. So, but I have to have enough confidence in myself that I can say, not cool, and then turn around and allow that person the grace so that it doesn't ruin our relationship.
Right.
There are people in my world who hold a grudge forever, which I won't name in case they ever see this, but I don't have that much space in my brain and my heart
Mm.
to hold on to that grudge and be like, you know, I am never going to speak to that person again. Well, then that's a loss for you.
Right.
But
So circling back around to the gospel, so coming full circle back to where we started, kind of.
so do
Truly,
you
when
think
I
Peter was offended? Do you think Peter was offended when Jesus like tossed him back in the boat and was like, "You little faith"? Like, did he feel like, or was he like, "Oh gosh,
no,
yeah,
I bet he was like, dang, how did this dude know that I was doubting? Truly, you must be the Son of God. That's how I think the internal dialogue in Peter's head went. Like, dang, he knew exactly how I was feeling. Um, right. So yeah, that's yeah. I don't want to write something into the gospel that's not actually there. But I would guess that's how the rest of that interaction went. And
what?" So he let the winds of the world, right? He let the worldly things take his attention away from focusing on Jesus.
right. And so that's exactly what I said in the homily. And hope doesn't require us to ignore and push off the winds of the world. It requires us to make sure that we are still focused on God, regardless of the winds that are blowing around us. And I
Yeah.
think that's what's most important is if we are oriented towards God, if we are focused on God, we can remain hopeful and we can remain vigilant as to the ways that God has been working in our life. And I think that puts us in a position to be hopeful and to continue to cultivate hope in the face of the winds and in the face of the storm.
And
Um,
at the moment where Peter realized that he was doubting, so you know he's out there walking on the water, and then oh my goodness, the winds, and at the point where he felt that he was not able to stay focused, then he cried out again.
mm,
So it wasn't like, you know, hey, I lost my focus for a, you know, a split second. I lost my focus. I'm just gonna plummet and drown and just that's my fate. It's like at the point where he recognized that he needed Jesus again, he cries out again, and
right.
Jesus saves him again. He didn't, but not in the way that you know you think. Well, then Jesus will just let him walk on water some more.
Mm,
He different way. Grabs him
right.
by the scruff of the collar, pulls him up out of the water, toss him in the boat.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. Um, the one of the most essential parts to this story is the reaching out and the crying out to Jesus, and the immediate response from Jesus to take our hand is so important as well.
Hmm.
And the saving isn't always done in the way that we think or the way that we want, but
Hmm.
it is done in the way that is best for us, regardless of if that is our opinion at the time or not. It is always done in the manner in which that is best for us and for the good of the Lord on top of that. And I think when your focus is on the good of the Lord, then you are in a position to humble yourself and not be so concerned about what your outcome is, because if it's for the good of the Lord, then that's what matters. So that's,
Right.
yeah, that's where I'd like to wrap it up today. I think that's a really good place. I think we hit so much in such a short amount of time. Wow. So just remember the ways in which God has been working in your life. I think that's super important to all of this. And remember that
For
we are not the
unanswered
judge of this
prayers.
world.
Thank there are
Yeah,
times when
unanswered
you
prayers are the
thank
best ones.
thank God for
I
unanswered prayers. I can't tell you where I'd be if he answered some of the prayers I've prayed along the way.
right, right, right. Absolutely. So just in order to cultivate hope, we must give thanks for the ways in which God has worked in our life previously. And the adults are probably pretty sure of that. The youths are probably pretty skeptical. And just give it a shot. That's all I got to say to that. Just give it a shot and see what happens. Um, just quick scheduling update. Thanks for being here, Mom. We really appreciate you, and I love you so much.
Love you too. See you later.
Bye. Just for scheduling update's sake, we have EYC tonight, and then this upcoming Wednesday, we will be having our last summer Bible study, because I will be starting classes the following week. So EYC tonight, last Bible study on Wednesday, and then EYC is just going to keep going on. I'm not gonna try to do anything too crazy with that. But EYC is going to begin to look a little different soon. So keep an eye on your email for some alterations and time changes and such. So I hope everybody has a great rest of their Sunday, and I will see y'all at EYC tonight. Hello, good morning. Bye, guys.